Yo, guys, it's your boy Dylan alongside with my dad.
Yo, I'm back, guys. I told you I would be back. Wild week. Go ahead.
And we're gonna be doing more of like a week, kind of 8 roundup, just like what we did like a couple weeks ago. But a couple weeks ago was actually during like as the week was going on, in the middle of going on. But this time, what we're gonna be doing is we're just gonna be kind of recapping all the games and that, just see how we feel about these last couple games or these last games from this past week.
This year's been probably one of the biggest intriguing years in NFL history to me, just because we've seen a lot of wackiness go on with things, just a lot of teams being displaced of where they would kind of be from a season before and who has our best chances right now. So let's go ahead and start it. What about the Cincinnati Bengals? I had high hopes for them this year. Joe Burrow looks disconnected out there this season. Zach Taylor looks clueless out there. They lost Mixon, correct?
Yes.
They lost Mixon. So is this one of those things? What's going on, do you think, in Cincinnati right now? And why do they look so disorganized?
That, it could be Joe Mixon. Sometimes, who knows if all it takes is for you to lose one star player. I mean, they still have Jamar Chase and all those other guys.
T. Higgins.
But for all I know, sometimes if you lose one star, because he was the running back, if you lose one big player, I mean, that's not going to be the same.
Look.
Without Joe Mixon.
And I mean, one of those things I had high expectations. Like I said earlier when they started off 0-3, I believe, again for the second straight year. Mm-hmm. So one of those things is they are now 3-5. Their division is not getting easier. Their schedule is not getting any easier when you look at what they have to go through. Next week, I believe they're at Atlanta or the Falcons. And the Falcons have mixed things there as well, too, this year. So, Kirk Cousins and everything. So it's really interesting to see, can they bounce back? I mean, they're not out of it per se right now, so I'm not excluding them. But there is still time. But I think within the next week or two, they really have to show up. They have to capitalize off of those opportunities and make it further. And these next 2 games are must-win games. Do you agree with me on that?
Yes. If they don't go on like a winning streak starting now, their season is cooked.
Right, exactly. The season is not getting much younger, and that is just a concern. We're seeing the Eagles, they're finally starting to gel and manipulate with one another, which is good. I think a lot of things, hopefully they're getting back on track. And the Eagles are one of those teams that when they are on track, they're all gelling together. They're a dangerous team. So we'll have to keep out for that one. Let's go ahead and also talk about, let's see all this right here. Baltimore, Cleveland. Were you surprised by the Browns beating the Ravens this past week?
Honestly, I picked the Ravens to win, but I am shocked. For those that don't know the Browns, they were a 1-6 team. They
lost Deshaun Watson as well,
They
too.
lost Deshaun Watson. At this point, if they can win without Deshaun Watson, then it's literally a Deshaun Watson problem, and they need to get rid of him.
Look.
No offense, they need to get rid of him. Sorry for him.
Go ahead. That's fine.
No, I was like, like I said, Deshaun Watson just needs to go at this point. He's a failure for the Browns.
And it's not that he's a failure. They went into the Cleveland Browns gave this guy a contract of uncertainty. They thought he was going to be able to produce these numbers, and he was going to be suspended, knowing satisfactorily on time because of his allegations. Then you have new allegations that come out against you as well, too. And, I'm not involved with any of that. I could care less about the legal mumbo-jumbo of it. But when you look at that, that takes a toll on your team because your whole team gets included with everything that he does. The guy is an absolute mess. And, at some point you put a level of blame on the Cleveland Browns organization, Haslam for even remotely thinking about this. This is something that Deshaun Watson has won because he's got his guaranteed contract. Guaranteed, but there are probably caveats in it as well, too. But, I was really shocked, about this as well, too. I haven't been making picks this internally and everything. The Ravens would have been one team I would have really seen come out and beat this team. However, we've shown that the NFL is not foolproof this year. and even the smaller of the teams can beat the bigger of the teams. So it's a good win for the Browns. Bad loss for the Ravens. I do not foresee the Ravens falling apart off of it, and I see the Ravens rebounding themselves. Next game, Green Bay, Jacksonville. What did you think about that game?
I think it was a close game. I mean,
Jordan Love was injured.
Jordan Love is injured again, but I think they narrowly squeaked it out.
They did.
They narrowly squeaked it out, and Jacksonville, of course, is back to their losing ways.
2-6 and everything. There's something defunct going on in Jacksonville. I'm concerned about the I'm concerned about the Jaguars. Am I concerned about the Packers? You might be concerned because this could be one of those things. Did they rush Jordan Love coming back to the NFL so quick? And they have a lot of season still left to play. It is integral right now. I like what the record is, 6-2. It's awesome. I like what the Packers are doing. I hope LaFleur and Saleh are actually having fun there, rubbing it in Aaron Rodgers' face, because really they have a team that is built to make the playoffs and go deep, guys. They really do. They look scary out there this year, and that's what I like about them. The Jaguars, they have a problem. Is it time where you start looking and say, okay, based off of last year, do you start looking and saying, is Doug Peterson in trouble for his job?
That's probably going to be one of the biggest concerns. Doug Peterson was going to be their future, but in his third season, I mean, keep in mind the Jaguars are already 2 losses away from matching last year's loss total.
Yep.
So that's a huge concern right there.
It is. It is a huge concern right there, and I'm starting to see that Doug Peterson might be on the firing block at the end of the year. The Cardinals in Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa returns. He looked impressive, so that is a good thing. But Kyler Murray is getting it done this year for the Arizona Cardinals. What do you think?
I mean, I did predict the Cardinals to win this game. For those of you that didn't watch the prediction video for Week 8, I predicted that the Cardinals were going to win because of some uncertainties with Tua Tagovailoa, and sure enough, the Cardinals, they were able to pull it off with the win. And who knows if when you come back from injury, some quarterbacks, when they come back from injury, they're not that good.
But he did do pretty good, though, yesterday. He did, and I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Tua didn't do bad yesterday. He did very, very well. I mean, he put up numbers of 28 of 38, 234 yards, 1 touchdown. And, I mean, he really did. So it's a confidence sign that Tua's there, and they needed him back. But the Cardinals, that's an interesting division right now, correct?
Yeah, because along with the 49ers and the Seahawks, that's literally a 3-way tie right now for first place.
All right, what do you think about the Falcons-Buccaneers game? What's your take on that? Do you have any concerns about Baker Mayfield, trying to... Do you think their season is in play here right now? What are the crucial points that they need to do to get back on track? This is their second game in a row where they've lost.
Second game in a row where they lost, and the second time, and so that basically means the Falcons have swept them this year. So Baker Mayfield's going to need to get his act together a bit, because if they let Kirk Cousins keep winning and they keep losing, I think their season will probably be in jeopardy.
That's an interesting division as well, too. Kirk Cousins shows games of brilliance, and, don't get me wrong, he's not a bad quarterback. I just don't think he's the money that he's worth and everything. He has not shown that, minus maybe 1 year, which, then that would have been with the Vikings. And really there, I don't even think he was worth the value of what he was. But that being said, this is interesting right here, because there's weeks that they look disorganized, and then there's weeks that they look organized. Atlanta keeps up the way that they're going. I think they put together a playoff year. Tampa Bay, I would really like to say, make Mayfield make it a little deeper this year. And they do have a hard schedule, going on, so it's not that easy. But These are two teams I will keep my eye on, and I'm very interested to see what they do for the remainder of the year. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders. That game is the one highlight that I want to talk about the most. That had a lot on the line for him and everything. You had Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. What looked like Chicago was going to pull out a win, and all of a sudden, the Fail Mary that is usually called, that you call it, the Hail Mary, the Doug Flutie special. I haven't seen anything like that since Doug Flutie. But that being said, at expiration of the time, a catch, and voila! All of a sudden, the Commanders win this game. How big of an impact is that on both teams going on further through the season?
Honestly, I think when it comes to the Commanders, I think they can show that they can find ways. I mean, this Commanders team has been something else this year.
Quinn has done a great job,
and he used to be a Cowboy defensive coordinator. But now with the Commanders, the Commanders look like they're a really good team with Dan Quinn on their coaching staff and all that.
He's their head coach.
Anyways, but for the Bears, they were on a something, but they are last place, but still with the winning record, 4-3. So
It's
sometimes
still progress.
sometimes you just gotta build back up from that.
This could be one of those things that hurts the Bears. I hope it does not hurt the Bears because they didn't play an overall bad game this past week or yesterday on Sunday. Same thing with the Commanders. I think the Commanders have to look at that as, holy crap, we pulled something off that we didn't think we were going to do. And, who would have ever thought 6-2 for the Commanders right now? I would have never thought it. And look at it. They're 6-2, so that's a surprise team in there, guys. And then even the Bears at 4-3, I think they've shown better brilliances. They still have the issue of trying to put the points on the board, and that's something offensively they're going to have to continue to keep on doing. Defensively, under 18 points in a game is a success. They gave up only 18 points, so anything under 20 points would be a success for them. And, hopefully they're able to move on from that and understand, do a little better coverage going forward. It was a tough game, I think, as far as unfortunate that it went that way. So, unfortunately, the Bears do lose that game. Let's go ahead and talk about Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. Did you ever see Denver being 5-3 at this point? And what do you think about Carolina?
Carolina, what do you expect? They're 1-7, worst team in the NFL again. Fun fact, along with the Titans, they are basically tied. They are the only ones that have yet to get their second win of the season. Therefore, the Broncos, I was expecting a lot worse out of the Broncos, but already 5-3. They're already 3 wins away from matching last year's win total. So we could be seeing some progress out of the Broncos, and technically they're a second place team, I believe. So
yep, they are.
Hopefully they can continue making forward progress this year, and maybe they could contend in the AFC this year. So we'll have to find out later on.
To be fair, I did not expect the Broncos to be where they're at right now at 5-3. I expected them to be on the lower end. Honestly, I expected the Chargers to be higher in wins, and I expected the Raiders to be higher in wins, and still for the Broncos to be down lower. So this is better. Knicks actually put on a good show this past Sunday. 3 touchdowns, 285 yards. Meanwhile, Bryce Young and the Panthers, they continue to put up their wallop show. If I had to watch, and I'm not trying to be mean here, nothing in my right mind or my wrong mind would think that the Panthers are doing anything to get better than that hump. The only win they have is under Dalton, which he didn't really play that well. Then he was injured due to an accident and everything. This team has some serious issues, guys. The Carolina Panthers need to be put up for sale, and the NFL needs to force a sale out of this because they're not going to get any better. Their owner is a complete arrogant guy that cares not one bit about anything that goes on outside of his money. If you look at his money and what he's built for the team, the value's there and everything. He just doesn't care. It's about the internal profit in comparison to the team that he's putting out there on the field. Bryce Young is not the guy for the job. It's time to move on. You need to start looking. This organization needs some help. At this point, you could throw anybody out there, and I don't think anybody's going to help. So that's what it is.
No organization for the Panthers is just a disaster. They are just a complete dumpster fire.
Dumpster fire.
Like, not for the fans. The fans, you deserve a lot better. You deserve a lot better out there in North Carolina. But as for the rest of the people, that team, nation's just, I have no words for them.
What do you think about the Houston Texans being at 6-2 and the Colts being 4-4?
The Colts, they're almost kind of like the Broncos. Like I said, I predicted the AFC South to be the runaway, but the Colts, they're trying to put up every last bit that they have. As toward the Texans, the Texans, I was kind of expecting. Not really expecting a lot, but just a little bit of expecting them to be, this good. With all the moves that they made, like them getting Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, and Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and the Strouds.
CJ Stroud.
That's why I said the Strouds. This team is just, they're good right now.
They're good. Yeah, they have a very good team, and I absolutely agree with you. 6-2, they're fierce guys. Watch out for them. They're finding ways to win. The Colts are trying to find ways to get themselves in it. To me, I think it's still another year of a learning and process. It's going to take a while to get the kinks fixed out in Indianapolis. Until then, you're going to probably see still the same mix of everything. The Texans, they just continue to get better, and this is a good sign for the Texans. They're not dropping low, and they're not falling, and they're actually on a stable pathway to a better organization. Now, let's go ahead and talk what would be the next game, the Detroit Lions and the Tennessee Titans.
At this point, do we really need to talk about this? 52-14, and I believe Hutchinson's still out. And the fact that they're now starting to get these wins in that without him, this is just unbelievable. 52-14. Don't be shocked about the score. They played a 1-6 Titans team. So
Mason Rudolph was the quarterback for the Titans yesterday, and they're defunct.
They're almost like they're basically the AFC version of the Panthers at this point. They're a dumpster fire.
Well, yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff, and it's nice to see, that the Lions are continuing their tradition. 6-1, they could be that NFC team. So, as expected, I think the Lions, I was expecting them still this year to be a very good team. Titans, I wasn't expecting I expected more wins, I think, out of the Titans this year. But as of right now, they've been letting it kind of go downhill. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about Buffalo and Seattle. Josh Allen is now 6-2 on the season. The Seahawks are now 4-4 on the season. What is it that you're liking or disliking about the Buffalo Bills and the Seahawks?
Seahawks, they could be a little bit inconsistent. I don't know if I should say inconsistent because, they started season 3-0. Then they went back towards the 3-3. They won a game, then they lost a game, so that's where they're up to 4-4. Without Stephon Diggs for the Bills,
they're doing great.
Bills, they've already, ever since they took those back-to-back losses to make their record decline to a 3-2, they've doubled their win total to 6-2. And I would honestly, if I was going to predict their record by week 8 a long time ago, if I would have predicted something by prior to the regular season by week 8, I would have had the Bills at a 5-3,
okay,
maybe a 4-4 team, but going 6-2 is actually something else. Who knows? Like I said, when we go back to the Bengals, losing one big player could be the difference between them competing and them, losing a lot. But I wouldn't say a lot, but Josh Allen is almost like the Bills of Mahomes. He's finding ways to win.
Exactly, and I like how you assess that and everything. And let me go ahead and tell you something. The good news is for the Seahawks, that whole division is kind of all over the place. So there is plenty of time for them to rebound. I would love to see them be more consistent than the inconsistency that they have had this year. But, I have confidence in them. And that whole division is kind of upside down right now. That being said, the Bills are finding ways to win without Stephon Diggs. That is huge. I like, look. Josh Allen is a very good quarterback. There's times when he falls out, and that's what hurts him the most. That being said, right now where they are at is a statement that they want to contend this year, and I see them contending this year. So I like what they're doing even without Stephon Diggs. Von Miller?
Yeah.
All that stuff. So, there's lots of things here that go on, internally. Sean McDermott is a very good head coach, and I see them just continuing the strength, build off of that. Now, our next game we're going to go ahead and talk about is the Saints and Chargers.
At this point, the Saints, ever since 2-0, they've been losing since. Chargers,
they don't have Carr right now. They have Rattler in. Carr is injured.
And like I said, ever since that 2-0 start, it's just been disastrous since. And this is another team that they could easily be a bad team right now.
Right.
But the Chargers, they rebounded after last week. So not this week, but like this past week they rebounded. So hopefully that gets them in there still.
They're still on good track and good par. The Chargers to compete for that division. They're not that far down. They're in third place in the division. Another win, they put themselves. The Saints are kind of defunct. I think and I think Dennis Allen is more on that chopping block. The Derek Carr experiment is starting to bust as well too. Again, it's another contract of uncertainty. And I just don't see it. And guys, I'm, looking at numbers and everything, I understand value and what it is when you want to lock a quarterback up. I'm tired of these ruthless contracts and these quarterbacks not living up to their potential. Yes, there should be some level of guarantee, but there needs to be a cap on how much guarantee that they can get per year. And that comes down to performance. You have only a small percentage of quarterbacks that make their money that actually continue to continuously perform in the way to earn that money. And it's hard to say it that way, and it's sad to say. I just don't think the value in Carr was there, and I think the Saints are just falling apart. So, yeah. Next up, let's go to the Chiefs versus Raiders game.
At this point, what do you expect from the Chiefs? They're going to beat the Raiders every game. They're 7-0 for the first time since technically the 2013 season. And if you want to know prior to that, that would be 2003. So this is only the third time that they've started 7-0. And the last two times that they started 7-0, they would actually go on to be 9-0 before they finally took their first loss. So, but the Raiders, they're just another one of those. I was expecting more out of them, but that's just not been the case.
And what's special, and here it is, and I'm going to tell you this, the Chiefs are battling injuries as well, too, this year. So that's a concern. They're without their main core of who they would have as the receivers. You see Schuster's injured. You see Rashee Rice is out for the year and everything. But what is special about this team is their defense. Their defense is kicking it, guys. Defense wins championships, and that's where they're getting it at. I was really shocked Antonio Pierce, knowing that the level of the defense, what killed him really in this past game was going for it on fourth down. They were in prime position to get at least the 3 points on the board. I would have taken the 3 points just based off of, and I understand you got to risk it. I think it was too high of a risk knowing that the last three drives, your quarterback has been either blitzed at or they've stopped him in the gap. I would have thought you would have gone for the field goal. So I think Antonio Pierce really made a bad call there. I know you're trying to find a way to win, but this team is just out of sync right now. And that's between Aiden and Gardner Minshew. And Aiden is injured. And fun fact here, The Chiefs have not lost a game since Christmas of last year, 2023. And they lost to
The
Raiders. So, this is concerning for the Raiders from a standpoint. I was always skeptical of Antonio Pierce because they had a guy that actually had him set there, Rich Bisaccia, and now he's with the Packers. And, he had him primed up, so the hiring was kind of odd in my opinion. It's one of those things of, now it's going to be interesting to see what Tom Brady actually does as a minority owner of the Raiders. Quick question here for you.
Yeah.
How long is it before Tom Brady changes his hair color and he looks like identical to the Raiders owner, Mark Davis?
Honestly, I don't know.
The next question is, are we setting the Raiders to fail so that way next year, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? Well, I'm not saying Tom Brady comes back and plays, but Bill Belichick might be looking for a job. How cool and just listen to me here, you would have a ton of prime elites coaching in the AFC West. You would have Andy Reid, you would have Belichick for the Raiders, and you would have Harbaugh for the Chargers. I think that's huge, showing the competition. Is that how it's going to play out? I could possibly see that happening, guys. I really could. I could see Brady having Davis bring in Bill Belichick as the head coach, restructuring it. Eventually, the Raiders will eventually become the new Las Vegas Patriots Raiders. So there you go on that. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about this game right here. The Jets versus the Patriots. And before I call them the Jets, I'm going to call them the New York Jets Packers, because Aaron Rodgers has gotten every single wish that could be granted, and his team can still not win. But go ahead. What's your take?
Honestly, the Jets, this is probably going to be the worst year for Aaron Rodgers. I think, I don't want to call him stupid for getting Devontae Adams, but it's too late. Their season's kind of done. The Patriots, congrats on your second win, at least ending a 6-game losing streak.
And now you're ahead of the Jets. Yeah.
On tiebreakers. So
On tiebreaker, yeah.
That's really that. That's literally the toilet bowl of the week.
I'm going to say this. To be fair, I shouldn't have put higher expectations for the Patriots. I like Gerard Mayo. I think he is a great, I think he's a foundation leader. I do like how, I'll tell you what. He came out, he took responsibility for the actions, and that is what you want to see out of a coach. He's only human, and he has so much air that he can do. And this is his first year. It's a lot harder to run a whole team than just running one line or two lines of that team. So that's a big thing. The Jets, Greg Zuerlein, they have a problem in their kicking department, special teams. The last 2 weeks, he's been abysmal. So that's a problem there. But then let's talk about the Packers. Let's talk about a couple, leading up to Saleh, get him fired. There was the handshake he tried to go in there for, and Aaron Rodgers didn't do it. Guys, Aaron Rodgers is not a guy that anybody really, outside of his Packers teammates, nobody wants to play with the guy. Nobody wants to play with the guy because he expects elite status for little work. Okay, this guy is a bare minimum guy. He did the same things over in Green Bay that got McCarthy canned from Green Bay. Matt LaFleur was not going to be canned because he had a team. So he could prove himself with Jordan Love and everything, guys. Aaron Rodgers is a 100%, and don't get me wrong, Pat McAfee's very good friends with him and everything. I understand that 100%. I don't know how you could be friends with him. He's worse than a diva on WWE. I think he should be in a SmackDown match on WWE against Who do you think?
Uh,
I think he needs somebody like Austin Theory and Grayson Waller to, or Solo Sikoa. What do you think about that one? Could you see Aaron Rodgers doing that?
maybe.
But the thing is, he wanted this. Somebody made a good point. Look at Zach Wilson's numbers. Zach Wilson wasn't putting up numbers, but honestly, to tell you the truth, Zach Wilson looked better than what Rodgers did. I'm just saying. Yeah, sometimes it's not best to bring all the Packers people in and go from there. Aaron Rodgers' prime responsibility, number one, that Woody Johnson is going to have to figure out. I think that whole team needs they need to go whatever it is. So then let's go ahead and talk about the final game last night, the Dallas Cowboys and the 49ers. What do you think about that game?
I mean, the Cowboys, they kind of suck this year. I mean, I wouldn't say they suck.
Oh,
I mean, they're 3-4, but
They suck.
they are right on the dum-dums. But the 49ers, they have been back and forth this year, but getting their fourth win will tie them in a three-way tie for first place. But there is one thing I do want to say when it does come to the Cowboys. They have, within, the next 5 games, there's literally, 4 games that are against winning records. The Falcons, the Eagles, the Texans, and the Commanders. Those are either high-end wildcard teams to division leaders. The Cowboys could easily collapse to a 3-8 record, and they are also an organization that they need to make some major changes.
And that's interesting. It was hilarious because last night while we were watching the game, Dylan goes, "Do you really think they're going to come back?" And I go, "It's football. They can always come back." And they did. They started to make that push to come back and everything. But there were so many miscues. Don't get me wrong. Does Dak Prescott have a talent? He has a talent. They have a team out there. They really do. But what is going on with them, guys? They cannot. They have not shown that they can beat a good team this year, and that even led into kind of last year a little bit too. A little bit, they were having the problem. I mean, they beat the Eagles the first game, correct?
Yeah.
But then they lost the second game, or did they win the second game against the Eagles? I forgot. But that being said, this year, they have yet to be a good team. They are wasting a lot of talent out there on the field. McCarthy looks clueless when he's out there, to be fair. He does. He looks very, very clueless out there. I thought last night's game was a battle between who was going to have their job going into Monday morning, Mike McCarthy or Kyle Shanahan. I sat there to Dylan last night and said, whoever loses this game is most likely going to get fired Monday. Well, my hopes didn't happen because McCarthy's still coaching. So I guess that's a good win for him. And I understand Jerry Jones. He doesn't want to make any transitional moves. But there's never a right time to do it. And another thing that has to happen if McCarthy gets fired, he needs to step down as general manager because he's taken too many bold calls and he's trying to run an organization like it was ran in the 80s and 90s. This is not the era of Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin. None of that. You don't have that anymore. You have a whole different team built in a different system going against the other series. This is a division you have to stay up there with, or every game costs you. Every game they lose is another one they fall. Meanwhile, the 49ers, they've had a turbulent year. They have now Christian McCaffrey back, Kittle back,
And Deebo
Samuel. So they're in that healthier area. So they're 4-4. The Seahawks are 4-4.
And the
Cardinals are 4-4. It's anybody's game in their division right now. So that is huge. Now, let's go on to tonight's game between the Giants and Pittsburgh Steelers. Who do you think is going to win that game?
I think I had the Steelers winning it.
Do you have any high hopes for the Giants?
Not really, considering the fact that, that a couple years ago was a fluke and now they're back and they were back to losing things last year, and this week I think they're going to be losing even more.
So, to the season, Daniel Jones has 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. How many interceptions is he going to throw tonight?
Probably like 2.
So how many touchdowns is he going to get?
Probably none.
So he's going to he's going to be tied virtually at 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I'm thinking he's going to throw 3 today, and the guy's trying to mimic and look like Eli Manning too much, so that's part of my thing. The question is it Justin Fields tonight, or is it Russell Wilson?
Justin Fields.
It's Justin Fields. Do you like what Mike Tomlin did this past week with having Russell Wilson play?
Maybe.
You know, I think it worked great. That was actually the best I've seen Russell Wilson play. And you know what? I think he's on the right. And hear me out. He started out slow. He started out sluggish. But you know what? If anybody can help him out, Tomlin is the guy there. He is a great head coach. I love Mike Tomlin. I hope he stays with the Steelers for a long period of time. He is a great mentor for all these young people coming in. You also have TJ Watt and everything. If they can continue building off what they're doing now, guys, this could be a good team this year. So let's go from there. And then, last but not least, I know it's a different subject. Let's talk about the Dodgers and Yankees. They also play tonight. For all those people that are not going to be watching football, are going to be concentrating on the Dodgers and Yankees. Who do you think wins tonight's game?
I would like to see the Yankees win. I would like to see the Yankees get back on track.
Yeah, you know, I don't like the blowout series, the way that it goes. It's kind of one of those things. I think for some reason they're injecting this Dodgers team with steroids. They're like pumped up and everything. Shohei Ohtani is invincible. And now we're looking at the Yankees, who really are now going to really need to win 4 games in a row if they really want to.
I would say 4 wins in a row.
They're going to have to.
But, you know, it is what it is.
You go into today, you got to win today, and you sweep it out. You sweep it out, okay? You do. How do I put it in a good way? No mercy. You have no mercy when you do it. They need to get something started really, really good. Hopefully tonight they can make a closer rebound to making themselves get a win on the board. They're going to need that. But I think the Dodgers are going to wind up winning the World Series ultimately, even though I would like to see the Yankees win it. And that is our show for today.
All right, and that'll do it for now. If you guys want to see more content like this, then smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, comment if you want to see something else. And until then, I'll see you guys this Wednesday or Thursday for week 9 of our predictions. Dang, we're already almost halfway through our season already.
Almost halfway. And then we also have a crown jewel for Saturday.
All right.
It's coming up, guys.
So we got a couple things coming up, so we'll see you guys later on this week.